and she's back in the round of 16 in Miami, defeating Magda Linette in straight sets. 6-3, 7-6. Just another masterful performance from Alexandra Eala. A truly dominant showing. Congratulations. You're back in the fourth round here, and you had to beat a true fighter in Magda Linette to do it. You know what a battle she is. Besides this incredible crowd, what was the key to your victory? Patience was absolutely critical to my game plan today. You said it, Magda is a warrior. She always puts me in impossible situations. So, props to her for a great match, and I truly loved the fight. It's a thrill to watch you play. You're so fearless attacking the ball so early. Your ability to redirect is incredible. Was that aggressive style always your nature, or did a coach instill that in you? I think playing aggressively has always been my goal. Maybe it's just clicked in the last year, but it's a real part of my game. Of course, I have a phenomenal team that has fine-tuned my game, pushing me to the next level. But yeah, I think being aggressive is just what I do. Yeah, okay. A year ago, you were ranked 140. Coming here, you're number 29. Cheering. What's the single biggest difference in you now as an athlete and a person? I feel like I've matured so much this past year. I've been thrown into so many high-pressure moments on huge stages, which I'm so thankful for and wouldn't trade for anything. But being back here in the fourth round, it feels just like last year. I'm thrilled. I'm just so excited. In professional tennis, some matches are just about the X's and O's. Some matches are purely about the number next to a player's name, the rankings, the seeds, all the stats that look good on paper. And then there's a match like this. A match where you can throw the numbers away. A match that's about something more, something raw, something that gets to the very soul of who these players are. Alexandra Eala versus Carolina Muchova isn't just a round of 16 fight in Miami. It isn't just another box to check. It's a psychological thriller. It's a brutal game of chess at 100 miles an hour. It's the ultimate uncompromising question of whether rigid structure can survive pure disruption. It's a test of whether a machine-like rhythm can hold firm when dragged into utter chaos. And maybe more than anything else, it is the definitive test to see if Alexandra Ayala's meteoric rise is the birth of a champion, or if she's about to slam into a wall of complexity she is simply not prepared for. On paper, this matchup seems almost deceivingly simple. This is a collision of worlds. First you have Isa. She's the blueprint for the modern power baseliner, a player forged by repetition, a machine of kinetic perfection. She steps on court to impose a system. She dictates the pace, pulling you into a grueling hypnotic cadence. Her game is built around a crushing, lethal lefty forehand. She craves those brutal cross-court battles, digging in to unleash punishing blows. She wants to set your legs on fire. She wants to steal the air from your lungs. Her mission is to grind you into dust over 3 relentless hours. Her game is a masterclass in control, a battle of geometry and calculated risks. A relentless mounting pressure that builds until her opponent finally cracks. And in the opposite corner stands Carolina Muchova. Machova is the absolute antithesis to everything Isa represents. If Isa is a metronome, Machova is the hammer that shatters it. Machova offers no rhythm. In fact, her sole purpose on court is to destroy yours. She's a saboteur, an architect of discomfort. She won't trade heavy shots. She'll vary the height of the ball. She'll manipulate spin, tempo, speed, and depth. And not just between points, but multiple times within a single rally. She'll pin you back with heavy topspin, then pull you in with a vicious skidding slice that barely creeps over the net before lofting a moonball to scramble your senses. This is precisely what makes the fight so incredibly perilous for Alexandra Eala. Now let's consider Eala's journey here. It's been nothing less than breathtaking, utterly impressive. But it's also been incredibly revealing. She survived a 3-hour war against Laura Sagan. And anyone who knows Sagan knows she thrives in chaos. She lives for disruption, for strange angles and broken rhythms that make you doubt everything you know. Ayala weathered that storm. Then she faced Magda Linette, a methodical, brilliant counterpuncher who had just stunned the world #1. And Ayala didn't just survive. She systematically broke her down, controlling the entire match. At one point in the second set, Ayala was down 3 games to 5. Her back was to the wall, with momentum completely flipped. That's the breaking point for young players when they start forcing shots. They rush, they gamble, they swing for winners they can't possibly make. But Ayala showed us something completely new. She revealed a frightening calm and ice-cold composure. She made elite-level decisions while under unimaginable pressure. She walled herself off, relying on her punishing ground strokes, and clawed her way from the brink to absolutely own the tiebreak. But today, Shaylin is in for a rude awakening. Carolina Muchova is not Laura Siegerman, and she is nowhere near Magda Linette. Carolina Muchova is a deadlier, more advanced version of that exact threat. Because Machova doesn't create chaos just for kicks. She dismantles opponents with surgical intent. When Machova carves that slice, it's not a defensive flick. It's a carefully laid trap. She uses that slice to keep the ball scraping the hard court, forcing you down so low your legs burn, making you scoop it up from your shoe tops. And she anticipates every move you'll make next. She knows you're off balance and striking from a compromised spot. Your shot will come back with no steam. It's going to land short. The second that ball hangs in the air, Machova is already closing in. She glides forward, erasing the angles and seizing the net. And believe me, once Carolina Muchova commands the net, she is one of the most brilliant and natural finishers in the modern women's game. Her touch is pure silk. She has the soft drop, the deep punch, the angled drive. So you see, this match isn't just about Alexandra's ability to endure. That simply is not enough anymore. The real question is whether Ayala has the mental fortitude for a match where rhythm never arrives. Can she handle the cognitive drain of never hitting the same shot twice? Now we have to consider the setting. We must inject the Miami conditions into this fight because the weather and court are a massive, invisible third opponent out there. This is where the tactical game gets truly fascinating. If you look at this purely on paper, the Miami environment should heavily favor Alexandra Eala. The air is soupy. The humidity is suffocating. The courts play far slower than your typical hard court. The balls get heavy, they fluff up, and they float like lead weights. What is the result? Rallies inevitably go longer. It becomes incredibly tough to step in and rip a clean winner past your opponent. You cannot just muscle your way through a match in Miami. You must earn every single point the hard way. And typically in the past, that environment is a gift to the grinder. It rewards the player with superior stamina with more powerful legs. The athlete who is ready to exchange 20, 30, even 40 balls in one rally, just waiting for the other player's body to give out from sheer exhaustion. That is Ayala's home turf. That is how she wins. But tennis is full of contradictions, and here is the big twist. Those exact same heavy and slow, draining conditions also make Carolina Muchova's style of play infinitely harder to handle. Because when the ball is sluggish and the air is thick and the court grips, Machova starts to slice. That ball just dies on the court. It doesn't bounce. It bites the clay, skidding low and away from you. Her spin makes that heavy ball explode violently off the court. It means for the receiving player, a clean hit is simply not an option. You're forced into constant frantic adjustments with your entire body. And against a predator like Machova, if you're off balance by the smallest margin, if your footwork gets lazy for a moment, you're giving her the exact opening she stalks. You're serving her the short ball she needs. So these Miami conditions are a true double-edged sword. They don't give a clear upper hand to anyone. Instead, they supercharge the deadliest weapons of both players at once. They make Eala's heavy topspin even more crushing, and they drop Machova's slice even lower. This dynamic is set to create a battlefield. Now you must consider the arena itself. You have to account for the Miami atmosphere because the weather and the court have become a third invisible force in this match. And this is where the strategic battle becomes absolutely riveting. If you just look at this on paper, Miami should be Alexandra Eala's ideal territory. The air there is like soup. The humidity is crushing. The courts play far slower than your standard hard court. The balls get waterlogged. They fluff up, moving like cannonballs. What's the bottom line? Rallies are guaranteed to be longer. It means it's brutally difficult to step in and hit a clean, flat winner. You simply can't muscle someone off the court in Miami. You have to bleed for every single inch of ground. And typically that kind of war heavily favors the grinder. It rewards the player with superior endurance, with stronger legs, the warrior who is willing to trade 20, 30, even 40 shots in a single rally, just waiting for her opponent's body to finally give out. That is Eala's kingdom. That is how she earns her victories. But tennis is a game of ironies. And here is the stunning twist. Those very same brutal, slow, stifling conditions also make Carolina Muchova's disruptive game infinitely more punishing. Because when the ball is heavy and the court is sticky and Machova starts to carve it, that ball doesn't pop up. It dies on the surface, skidding away from you. When she mixes the spin, the heavy ball kicks off the court ferociously. This guarantees that as the person on the receiving end, you'll never hit cleanly. You are constantly off balance, correcting every part of your form. And when you face Machova, if you lose your balance for an instant, if your feet are sluggish for a split second, you are delivering her the very thing she's hunting. You're feeding her the opening to attack. So the Miami conditions cut both ways. They don't clearly favor one competitor. Instead, they magnify the greatest strengths of both women. They turn Ayala's heavy topspin into a cannonball and Machova's slice into an unplayable dagger. And that's exactly what will turn this match into an absolute war. But the mind games go even deeper. There's one more critical factor we have to break down. It all comes down to a single glaring hole in Alexandra Eala's game: her second serve. Watch the tape, check the stats. It's the one place Machova can do devastating damage. Eala's second serve just sits up waiting to be crushed. It lacks the heavy spin and pace that forces a returner to back off. Now against 90% of the tour, Eala can live with that weakness. Why? Because her movement is off the charts. Her defense is world-class. She can float a serve in, immediately fall back, absorb the blow, and reset the point with her incredible speed. But trying that strategy against Carolina Muchova is a death sentence. Because Machova doesn't just hit a return, she attacks with it. She turns the return into an offensive weapon. The second she sees that weak serve, she's like a shark that smells blood. She charges 2-3 feet inside the baseline. She takes the ball on the rise, cutting off all of Eala's reaction time. Then she chips it low and deep into a corner and follows it to the net like a heat-seeking missile. And just like that, in a heartbeat, Eala is no longer in control of the rally. She serves, and on the very next shot, she's staring down an opponent who is smothering the net. She's forced to conjure a perfect passing shot just to stay in the point. If that pattern emerges early in this match, if Machova starts that chip and charge assault on every second serve, the psychological weight on Eala's service games will become crushing. Eala will know she can't trust her second serve, so she'll start overhitting her first serve. The percentage will drop. The double faults will start to appear. It is a spiral of mounting pressure, and that is where this match could become a complete nightmare for the young star. But let's flip the script, because Carolina Muchova is facing her own demon in this matchup. She has a massive, undeniable problem rooted in pure biology. Carolina Muchova's body is not built for a long, grueling tennis match. She does not want to be on court for 2.5 hours. And Alexandra Eala is quite possibly the worst person to face if you're trying to avoid a war of attrition. Eala doesn't just tolerate long, lung-burning points. She craves them. She thrives in them. She is perfectly comfortable in the pain cave. When her legs are on fire and her lungs are screaming, she's in her element. We saw this on full display in her match against Simont. For over 3 hours in the brutal heat, they punished each other, and Eala's intensity never dropped. Her body language was unshakable. There was no sign of panic, no gasping for air. She was simply a machine. Eala's endurance is a terrifying weapon. In her last match, she grew stronger as the fight wore on. Her strategy is brutally simple: outlast everyone. If she can drag Machova into a war of attrition, forcing endless baseline rallies of 20 shots or more, and if she shows the iron will to resist going for a hero shot, refusing to pull the trigger too soon, but instead relentlessly hammers deep, heavy balls, then this stops being about tennis and becomes a survival test. That's when Machova's history casts a long, dark shadow across this court. We all know the story. Machova's career has been a heartbreaking cycle of injuries. Her own body has been her greatest opponent. She's been honest about the tour's brutal toll on her. When a match loses its artistry and becomes a raw battle of who breaks down first, Machova is in trouble. So in principle, the core dynamic of this match is perfectly clear. It is a tug-of-war against the clock. If points are quick under 5 strokes, Machova is in charge. She is driving the match. But if rallies extend to 10, 15 or 20 shots, Eala holds all the cards. Every game will be a war over who controls the tempo. But the physical and tactical are only part of the story. You have to look at the psychological battle, the silent war fought between the points, in that lonely walk to the towel. Mentally, this is not a level battlefield. Machova has stood at the sport's highest peak, a Grand Slam finalist. She has faced down the world's best on the biggest stages. She understands the pulse of a major match. She feels how momentum lives and dies. She thrives in those heart-stopping moments at 4-all in a final set. She knows how to slam the door on an opponent. Ayala is still building that mental fortress. And this is a game changer. What Ayala revealed last match was a stunning evolution. Down 3-5, she didn't play like a newcomer. No rushed serves, no panicked wild swings for the fences. She took a breath. She became calm. She trusted completely in her game plan. She executed her strategy and absolutely owned the tiebreak. That isn't just a powerful forehand. That is the birth of a champion's mind. Today, that mindset is tested by fire. But this is a whole new kind of heat. Against Machova, the scoreboard is the least of her worries. She's fighting a relentless strategic assault. It is the agony of being constantly dragged from your element, that feeling of being perpetually off balance that your opponent sees your move before you do. That mental chess match is utterly draining. It torches your mental fuel 10 times faster than any sprint ever could. And then you add the final ingredient to this powder keg: the crowd. This is Miami. And here Alexandra Eala is not just another player. She is not a competitor, she is an event. Her support is massive, deafening and passionate. The energy inside that stadium will be absolutely electric. The chance, that raw emotional surge from the stands is tangible. It becomes a physical force. In a brutal war like this, that energy is everything. Because deep into the third hour of play, when rallies feel like suffocation and errors start to bleed in, when lactic acid turns your legs to concrete, that deafening roar from the stands, that jolt of adrenaline from thousands of fans can flip the entire match. It can give Ayala a second wind she never knew she had. And for Carolina Muchova, it is just one more layer of adversity, another wall she must mentally block out to execute her delicate precision game. So you factor in everything: the heavy topspin, the vicious slice, the vulnerable second serve, the oppressive Miami humidity, the injury history, the mental evolution, and that roaring crowd. When you throw all of this into the crucible, the ultimate question becomes crystal clear. It burns intensely bright. Can Alexandra Eala stay disciplined enough, tough enough, and stubborn enough to refuse to be drawn into Carolina Muchova's web of chaos? Can she resist playing the game on Machova's terms? Or does Machova, the grandmaster of disruption, manage to shatter Ayala's rhythm before it ever takes hold? Because the reality is this: if Ayala lets frustration in, if she panics, if she starts to overhit, if she starts chasing miracle winners off those low skidding slices, if she loses tactical patience for even 10 minutes, this match will be gone in a flash. Machova will simply pick her apart. But if Ayala can stay composed, if she remains dead calm under fire, if she sticks to her game plan, hitting with punishing heavy depth, and denies Machova the short balls she feeds on, if she can force Machova to hit just one more shot again and again, then the match slowly, painfully twists into the nightmare scenario Ayala wants. It becomes a brutal, physical, grinding war of attrition under the Miami sun. And in those exact conditions, riding her massive wave of momentum, armed with her new ability to withstand suffocating pressure, this match is a lot closer, and a whole lot more dangerous than any ranking would ever suggest. The eyes of the entire tennis world are on this court today. Model. But tonight, only one question matters. Can the unrelenting machine Alexandra Eala survive the explosive, unpredictable artistry of Carolina Muchova? Because if the answer is yes, if Ella walks away with the win, this is more than just a notch in the standings. This becomes the defining moment. Her potential becomes legendary. This is the match that stops the talk about Alexandra Eala's great story and proves her greatness.